What has been your organization's experience with microinsurance programs?
What we've done for the last 25 years at the Microinsurance Center and now the Microinsurance Center at Milliman is to help countries and people, ultimately to help people to get good insurance products. Low-income people who have very little money, how do we use the commercial sector to help get them insurance products that really are valuable to them when they have crises? And so since then, we've worked in over 80 countries, and we work in several areas. And we believe that if you want to have a good microinsurance market, you need to have an understanding of the clients. You can't develop products, processes, if you don't understand the clients. And so we work very hard to understand clients. We have to have insurers that aren't just doing this for corporate social responsibility, but see this as a long-term business venture. We need to have distributors because the insurers aren't going to go out into the low-income areas and sell insurance. So we need distributors. We also need it to be efficient and fast, right? And then finally, we need to have a facilitative regulatory environment because there's a lot of things that have to change for microinsurance in order to make it possible. But at the same time, you have to protect clients. So working with the regulators, we do a lot.
What challenges have you have improving this microinsurance?
Certainly one of the challenges is climate change and the issues that that's brought about and the frequency of issues and new issues that come up. We have more floods, for example. We have heat problems that we didn't really have before, excessive heat. And when you're talking about these low-income people, it's not like they can go into the air conditioning and inside and get cool. And so how do we help them to deal with that? How do we help them to deal with health issues? In many places I've been, people say when I ask, okay, so how do you deal with these health issues? If they're serious, they say, we go home to die. And it's horrible. And I don't see any reason for that. And that's what got me interested in insurance, because there's so much that we could do to help these people, and we can do it on a commercial basis. And we've proven that over and over again in many, many countries.
The perception of these people, of these beneficiaries, how is the perception of these products?
When we start, because I said, again, we work with low-income people, we talk to them, we understand what their issues are, we ask them, what risks do you face, how do you face them, and then those gaps we talk about. And so where we start is usually, oh no, get away, insurance cheats us. We don't want insurance, cheats us, we're not interested. And then after we work with them and talk with them about risk again, right? We talk with them about risk. We build these products that are based on what they say they need. Then we actually end up, in many cases, with products that people want to buy then, right? We often say insurance is sold, it's not bought. But when you have a good product that people see value in, they'll buy it. Even low-income people have some flexibility in the range that they'll pay. If they see there's real value, if they understand the product, then they'll buy that. And that's the objective, is to get to that point. And then that makes it so much easier to get to scale when people want to buy your product.
How does technology play in your products?
So we say good microinsurance products have to be suave, S-U-A-V-E. So they have to be simple, they have to be understood, they have to be accessible, they have to be valuable, and they have to be efficient. And in terms of efficiency, this is where technology comes in. It helps us to get information out. It helps us to get people knowledgeable. It helps us in the transaction, the premium transaction technology. But it's really critically important to help minimize the costs of microinsurance. So we find that technology is critically important for reducing those costs. We look at the main costs of insurance, and it's the cost of paying claims, and it's the cost of administration. And if we can get that administration cost down, we can still have a very good and valuable product for clients at a reasonable premium. And so technology really has a critical role here. Let me just say that said, okay, that doesn't mean we can do everything with technology. There has to be a level of human touch interaction in the beginning, because no low-income person is going to buy insurance because they got an SMS.
No,
Not going to happen. So,
it has to be face to face.
yep. And then from there, then how do we shift them to technology?
It's a financial education and an issue for these people.
Financial education is an important issue. But we often think about insurance and microinsurance in a very linear way. And what I would argue is that what we need is financial education that is sequenced. It doesn't do any good for you to teach me about a product or teach me about how important insurance is, however you do it, right? It doesn't do any good if my neighbor didn't get their claim paid. I'm not going to trust. So tell me whatever you want. I don't care, but I'm not going to buy insurance. The biggest, most important education that clients need is to get claims paid and to get them paid on time and fast. Low-income people don't have reserves. So, if we have a problem, we can buffer that a little bit, and we don't have to have the claim right away. But low-income people often don't have any buffer. So what do? When they have a crisis and they have to wait a month, even 10 days for their claim, they have to do exactly what people who didn't have insurance have to do. And then they have to borrow at high interest rates. They have to do all these things that are very expensive. And so, and people end up paying, low-income people, they end up paying often more than other people, wealthier people, because your child gets sick and you're a farmer, okay? Where are you going to get the money? If your insurer isn't going to pay right now, isn't going to go directly to the hospital, right? Then what am I going to do? I'm going to sell my cow. My cow may be worth $500, but I'm going to sell it at $250 because that's what I need and I've got to do it now, right? And so if you think about it, the total cost of the hospitalization is whatever the cost was plus $250 because that's what I lost having to sell my cow.
And he lost the cow. That is part of her life, of her job.
Yep, part of my long-term income. Yeah.
Are these products currently profitable? How do you balance financial sustainability with inclusion?
Some are profitable. Many are profitable. I would say, especially on the life insurance side, those products tend to be, I would say, in many cases, too profitable. Okay. Other products are profitable. Hospital cash products can be profitable. I haven't found that comprehensive healthcare is profitable on this low-income market. So that may need subsidies. It may need other issues. It may need the government. But for the most part, microinsurance is profitable, and we've seen this over the last 25 years. That it can be profitable, but you have to be focused very intently on what are your costs, how do you keep them down, how do you make it efficient, having good products so that you don't have to keep fighting with clients, having a vast distribution network because you need to get to scale. Scale is what is the profitability or not profitability indicator. If you can get to scale, then you can have profitability. And it often takes microinsurance programs, so several products in a program, it often takes 5 or 6 years to get to profitability because you need to get to that level of scale.
And finally, what recommendations will you make to other insurers or organizations that are interested in this sector?
For insurers, the way insurance works now is that we work at the very top level of the economy. We sell products to those people. What we see is that there's what I call a death spiral, right? This year, I'm insuring you. The next year, somebody else comes and says, well, I'll discount you 5%. The next year, it's, oh, I'll discount you 10%. And so it's just this spiral because you're just working off the same market. If you can expand that market, you move from 10% of the people to 80% of the people. And that makes your market huge. Then you've got to be able to have efficient ways to access them. So think about this, and this is a positive thing. A positive business just takes a little time to do that. The chairman of Allianz, I had him on YouTube once. I saw a video where he says, we do microinsurance because this is our market of the future. AXA, the insurance company, they say They've changed it a bit, but they used to say, we work with emerging consumers. If we can keep people from falling back down into poverty, then we're getting a more stable, better economic base for people. And then they're going to buy more of your products because they're going to have more money. They're not going to keep falling back. And, I spent a number of years doing microcredit out in the rural areas of developing countries. And, I see people, they do a little better and better. And then the kid gets sick. They fall back down. Husband dies. They fall back down. Something happens, they fall back down. And they can't get out of that cycle. Insurance can help them get out of that cycle. And then it helps us as insurers. It helps the people. It helps the country because then you've got more resilient people.
And also the governments.
And the governments, yeah. Yeah, the governments. So when you've got insurance money flowing into these areas that have problems, the government has less of a responsibility. And yes, the government's responsibility is that bottom layer, the destitute people, okay? But that narrows the responsibility that they have because the commercial sector is dealing with that next layer.